Have you ever seen plants grow like this? There's no need for soil or even hydroponic tanks. These roots are just dangling in hollow tubes. Aeroponic farming is a process by which plants are able to absorb nutrients using only water and open air. And this surprising approach can save huge amounts of water and space compared to traditional farming practices, allow crops to grow in areas lacking resources or arable land, and even create more nutrient-dense produce. To learn more about this exciting field, BuzzFeed News reached out to Agronomy Tower Farms to get the inside scoop on vertical farming.
With aeroponics, the roots are hanging in the air. There is a reservoir at the base, which is filled with water and nutrients. There is a little pump inside that reservoir, which basically helps the water to go all the way on top of the tower, and then it drizzles down back onto the roots on its way back down, so the water goes back in the reservoir. The roots that are hanging in the air, they have 100% availability of oxygen. So it changes the whole paradigm of farming, because instead of us giving the right amount of nutrients to each plant, it's each plant that decides how much nutrients they need, because they have enough oxygen for that to be a reality. Big perk of this technology is that it's extremely versatile. We can do it outdoors, we can have them inside the greenhouse, or we can even have them indoors, just only with LED lights. It doesn't matter that your climate is like this, doesn't matter the soil is being deprived from nutrients or that you don't have water. We can produce right on the spot. Before I did this, I had an organic farm between California and Hawaii for 29 years. But in today's climate conditions, it doesn't matter how good you are. That's one of the reasons why I exceeded conventional farming, because the last year I was involved in farming 1 week of extreme heat, just 1 week in February, and we lost just 82% of our strawberry production. The concept of a green thumb doesn't exist with this technology. We have a non-profit organization where we also set up this type of systems for orphanages. I cannot go to an orphanage and give them a piece of land and a tractor and tell them, and here are a few seeds, go grow some food, because it's a profession. But a tower farm, I can go anywhere around the world. I can set it up overnight. I can train people that have absolutely no experience in farming, zero. Within a couple days, I know that they have food for the year to come.
Have you ever seen plants grow like this? There's no need for soil or even hydroponic tanks. These roots are just dangling in hollow tubes. Aeroponic farming is a process by which plants are able to absorb nutrients using only water and open air. And this surprising approach can save huge amounts of water and space compared to traditional farming practices, allow crops to grow in areas lacking resources or arable land, and even create more nutrient
Fun fact, planet Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Mankind, about 140,000 years old. Let me put that in perspective. If you condense the Earth's lifespan into 24 hours, that's one full day, then we have been here on this planet for, drum roll please, 3 seconds. 3 seconds. And look what we've done. We have modestly named ourselves Homo sapiens, meaning wise man. But is man really so wise? Smart, yes, and it's good to be smart, but not too smart for your own good. Yes, we have split the atom. Yes, we build clever machines that navigate the universe in search of new homes, but at the same time, those atoms we split created nuclear warfare. In our quest to explore the galaxy, rejects and neglects the home that we have here now, so no, that cannot be wisdom. Wisdom is different. While intelligence speaks, wisdom listens, and we willingly covered our ears to Mother Nature's screams and closed our eyes to all of her help-wanted signs. Wisdom knows that every action has an equal and opposite reaction, so if we were wise, we would not be shocked when we see storms that are stronger than ever before, or more drought, hurricanes, and wildfire than ever before, because there's more pollution than ever before, more carbon, more trees cut down than ever before. At a record pace, we have increased the extinction of animals by 1,000 times the normal rate. What a feat. In the next 10 to 100 years, every beloved animal character in every children's book is predicted to go extinct. Lions gone, rhinos gone, tiger, gorilla, elephant, polar bear gone. In 3 seconds. Species that have been here longer than us will be gone because of us. In this 3 seconds. In an existence shorter than a Vine video, we turn the circle of life into our own personal conveyor belt. Somebody, anybody help. We were given so much, the only planet in this solar system with life. I mean, we are 1 in a million. No, actually, scientifically, we are 1 in a billion, trillion. That's a 1 followed by 33 zeros. And I don't want to get too spiritual, but how are we not a miracle? We are perfectly positioned to the sun so we don't burn, but not too distant so we don't turn to ice. Goldilocks said it best, we are just right. This paradise where we are given medicine from trees, not coincidentally, but because like the song says, we are family. Literally, everything, every species is connected genetically, from the sunflower to the sunfish. And this is what we must recognize before it's too late, because the real crisis is not global warming, environmental destruction, or animal agriculture. It is us. These problems are symptoms of us, byproducts of us. Our inner reflection, loss of connection has created this misdirection. We have forgotten that everything contributes to the perfection of Mother Nature. Corporations keep us unaware and disconnected, but they have underestimated our strength. Contrary to popular belief, millions are waking up out of their sleep, seeing our home being taken right up under our feet. We cannot allow our history to be written by the wicked, greedy, and loony. It is our duty to protect Mother Nature from those who refuse to see her beauty. Call me crazy, but I believe we should have the right to eat food that's safe, with ingredients we can pronounce. Drink water that is clean, marvel at trees, breathe air free of toxins. These are natural rights, not things that can be bargained for in Congress. See, they want you to feel powerless, but it has been said that something as small as the flutter of a butterfly's wing can cause a typhoon halfway around the world. But when enough people come together, we too will make waves and wash the world into a new era filled with love and connection, freedom for all without oppression. But it is up to you, yes, you watching this behind this screen, to make the effort, because time is of the essence, and only together can we make it to the 4th second. We can no longer rely on those who have polluted our air, water, and sea for a solution. There will be no Iron Man coming with a super technological fix to save the world. In fact, we cannot save the world, but we can recreate the world. We must do something about our trees. Trees are so important to this planet. Destroying them is causing more than 7 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions each year. If we don't stop the destruction of the world's forests, we will not be able to solve climate change, period. For the past year, I've been supporting Stand for Trees, a platform that puts the power of change back into the hands of the people. They allow you to take responsibility for your carbon footprint and directly protect the threatened forests, forest communities, and wildlife of the world. If millions of us support Stand for Trees right now, we could actually do something about climate change and environmental destruction. Only through the collective actions of us all, a future full of forests, forests that are full of life, and a planet that is full of harmony. Please join me and go to standfortrees.org to save a forest and to save our future.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Good morning from wherever you're joining us. And I really want to I'm delighted to welcome each and everyone to the phase 2 of the Climate Actor Accelerator program. I want to congratulate each and every participant that were able to make it to this new phase. And starting this morning is the first masterclass session which we are going to be having. And definitely after the masterclass, we'll still be having the information session, because I know definitely we all have questions and answers. We have things which we want to really want to know more about the program, the benefits, and how long the program is going to take. But without taking much of our time, we'll be taking the first masterclass, the first session this morning, and that will be led by Mr. Olumide Idowu. He's commonly known as Mr. Climate. I'll be playing his profile shortly while he comes up to give his presentation. Thank you.
Mr. Olumide Idowu is an energetic and strategic leader who balances a practical view of competing for development interests with a passion for environmental protection and conservation. His knowledge of environmental issues is broad and multifaceted, with his ability to effectively engage and interest a great cross-section of individuals in environmental issues by building solid relationships, writing articles, contributing to working groups, and leveraging social media platforms. He is a resolute, self-driven professional with 9 years progressive experience in project management, business development, sales and marketing, campaign specialist, social media strategy, environmental sustainability, climate change, digital marketing, and facilitation. He enjoys working at the intersection of corporate sectors, media development, technology, and entertainment. He's experienced in working and managing teams with diverse multicultural national backgrounds. Given his dedication to development, he has been instrumental in the development of other businesses, sectors, companies, social change initiatives, serving as volunteer, mentor, and strategist. He is the co-founder of the International Climate Change Development Initiative, Youth Focal Point Nigeria UNDP Small Grant Program, Youth Lead Author Global Environment Outlook, and a Communication Director for African Youth Initiative on Climate Change.
Okay, that's the profile of Mr. Olumide Idowu. Mr. Olumide Idowu will be taking us through the case study that tags combating climate change in Nigeria. And for the next 45 minutes, he will be running this session. And please, should in case you have questions and questions or comments, kindly use the chat button to drop your questions. And definitely, we are going to attend to all questions by God's grace today. Over to you, Mr. Olumide.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you so much for having me today. I quickly just want to know, who am I speaking to? I can only see only 3 people.
So the main participants are on YouTube, and as we speak, we have close to 500 participants joining on YouTube. So the Zoom which we are using is just the back end for this boot camp, the trainings.
Okay, thank you very much. So that I don't want to take too much of our time, let me quickly say, okay, let me say a big thank you for giving me this opportunity today to be part of this conversation. I don't know, I may not be able to, put on my, what do you call it, a video, but I will try as much as possible. I just want to urge all the people that are on this call to get their pen and paper, because I want to be sharing some key actions. We are talking combating climate change, which is a very big conversation that is an urgent action that we need to take as individual and collectively. And I'm very happy for the invitation from SDSN Youth Nigeria Network for giving me this privilege to also speak to, friends, brothers, uncle, aunties, and senior colleagues in this space. I'll be sharing what I know that we can start looking at when it comes to combating climate change. It's just unfortunate that I will not be able to, have a feedback from you all, but let me just speak, let me flow, then people can, as time goes on, I'll be able to get some feedback from you guys. So when we talk about, let me start from climate change itself, there's this mentality that the word climate change, everybody always say, what is climate change in your language? What is climate change in your dialect? And a lot of people don't even understand that climate change as a word itself is just a component of an environment issue. So for me as an individual and from my experience, what we are facing is an environmental problem. And climate change is one of the components of this environment. And I will also call it, what we are seeking actually is called environmental justice. It is when you talk about environmental justice, it comprises of all the environmental related issues that we have. And climate change is just part of it when we are looking at shift in temperature and weather pattern. And this is just a conversation that is now something that is taking away the word environment out of people's space. And you see that a lot of organizations are now focusing on climate actions. And you see, every one of us, what we just need to look at when we are talking about combating climate change is actions. When you want to combat climate change, so what are the actions that we are going to take to limit, and we also understand that everyone can help to limit climate change, everybody. So what we need to start looking at is the actions that we need to take, because that is one of the biggest conversations that you can do or you can talk about, and that can change the narrative of what you want to see. Throwing into the house, we know that there are a lot of things that causes climate change. And the green gas emission, we see people talking about the manufacturing organization, how they are contributing to the environment. And we see a lot of people cutting down forests, trees. All these actions are very, 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 very key when we are talking about climate change. And a lot of people also look at the effects and how is it impacting, how is it affecting our temperature over time, and how is it changing our weather pattern over time. And also, how is this resulting in more severe and frequent storm that is happening on our soil? Water conservation is there. It actually increased the drought of so many geopolitical zones. And this one takes me now to let us understand the concept or how it's impacting us as a country. Let me use Nigeria as a case study. Number one, it is very important that we know, as everybody on this call, that we have 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. And these 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria, I want to classify them in 4 areas, how we are being affected by climate change. One, if you go to the northern part of Nigeria, you will be able to understand that we are facing desert encroachment and desertification. And this is a very big issue that a lot of people don't know that is happening. And if this continues, there's going to be a big problem in our environment. I hope everybody is getting me. And I mentioned desert encroachment and deforestation as the degradation of land in the northern part of the country. You see the semi-arid, you see the semi-dry area everywhere, mainly caused by climate change and even human activities. And all of us also know that in Nigeria presently, the dry land is a part of the country, and more prone desertification is happening in other parts of the country. So if you are looking at it from the northern part sides of the country, we need to be talking about how this is impacting the livelihood of people living in such prone area. Dry land. Farmers are finding it difficult to get food to eat. Livelihood is being taken away. And what is happening? What is causing this? Climate variation. 2, climate variation and human activities. And those major issues are the causes of desertification in our land. So let's keep thinking about, for those that stays in the northern part of the country, how everything is, is happening. We talk about the fuel wood, we talk about the firewood issues, we talk about agricultural activities in another part of the country, in a vulnerable ecosystem. A lot of things is happening, and we need to see how we can continue to solve that problem. And that is why the issue of Great Green Wall is coming up. We're clamoring for tree planting, restoration, making sure that our environment takes back the rightful, and soil that we need. Now let me go to the south. Let me just call the south part of the country. South and the southwest, but the south now. Every one of us, as much as if you are 35 years old below, you might not be able to even think, or you should be annoyed to listen to this kind of issue. Number 1, oil spillage. Number 2, gas flaring. These 2 issues are killing people day by day. There was a day I posted on my social media and said that all this pollution, they are called killers. And do you know, they don't kill like now. They kill gradually. And what is the essence of human on earth? Dying gradually. And you are thinking you are living. The Ogoni cleanup story has shown to us that most of us that we are 35 below, we understand that this conversation has been there years by years without even any proper solution, or let me call it sustainable way out of all this problem. We see how government is playing with people's life. We see how the environment is being taken away. So how do you and I, the extent of the problem is very bulky, that even the Department of Petroleum Resources are just giving figures, money from money. I remember the last time they recorded 1.8 million barrels of petrol was spilling into the Niger Delta. So how do we ask ourselves, what is going on? Millions of lives. Let us calculate the population of the oil producing country, producing states. How do you feel that their livelihood have been taken away and they don't have justice That's why I call it environmental justice. No justice, no opportunity. Farmers are crying. Fishermen are crying. The pollution is getting unbearable. And this is really, really sad. So when we sit down and understand that concept and see that Niger Delta, people are dying. The frequency of the oil spillage in Niger Delta is so annoying that for the past 20 to 30 years, we have several ministers. We have several minister for petroleum, minister for environment, agriculture. Several governors have passed through that place. Several local governments, several chairmen, several councillors, and we are still crying up till now. So what happened to all the promises, the campaign promises? What happened? Because there's no how you want to win election in the Niger Delta. Environmental issues will not be one of your targets. Yeah? There's a lot of criminal drilling into pipeline. Why are we not drill the pipeline where hunger is in the land? It is high time we keep the soil in the ground. And that is what we need to start talking about when it comes to the issue. Now let's come to the southwest, which most of us, like me, we are staying. As a victim of flooding, I can categorically tell you that flooding is deadly. We have what we call flooding. We have what we call the sea level rise that is killing, that is happening. And I will link it a little bit to the mid of Nigeria, like the Kogi in 2012, where we have a flood in Kogi State. You can see the way lives are being taken away. You can see the way life have been threatened. You can see the way livelihood have been taken away. But nobody is saying anything. Nobody is talking. You know, this flooding happens with only a few inches of water. And that is why in this part of the country, the southwest, how many lands do we have? Everybody wants to build a house. I'm not saying everybody is not good. Every small land in Lagos, there must be something built on it. What happened to the waterways? There's a community in the Woshoki called Mosquito Village. Just because you want to build an estate, you are diverting water to another channel. Let me tell you guys, there's no how on earth you divert water. Water will find its way back. So you see the level, the overflow of this water, how it's affecting people's life. Do you know what flood causes? It causes mental problem, mental issue. It drains you. There's a depression when your house is flooded, when your property is being taken away. That is what is going to happen. You know, it's going to occur when you are so relaxed. And our prediction about rainfall, what kind of technology, what kind of information are we getting to understand that rain is coming? Even the impact and the climate combat, the issue of climate change, most of us we cannot even identify how this is affecting our health and our community. So it's so sad. It's so sad that a lot of things is going on in this country when it comes to climate change, and we cannot have proper solution to solve it. Yes, we know government have a lot of work to do, but what is your responsibility as an individual to achieve that sustainable solution to our environment, to the climate problem we are facing? Every year, a lot of people attend the conference of party, the UN SDSN conference of party, November, December period. As we are talking now, SB is going on in Germany, pre-COP from the UN SDSN. What are they discussing? What are they, what promises are they making on behalf of 250 million Nigerians? Is it promises that will resonate with our problem? Is it promise that will solve the local problem we are facing? Is it the problem that will bring justice to people that their life have been taken away because of the impact of climate change? So it is very, very key and very important to know that people are dying. Like a friend of mine will say, we are all in the same boat, but are we in that boat? Are we in the same seat on that boat? My mentor will also remind me and say that climate change is a time bomb. It's just like you watch an American movie. When they throw bomb, the next thing that happens is it explodes. That is how climate change is. If we don't take urgent action, if we don't take drastic position in speaking out for the change we want to see as young people, as the elderly people, as a citizen, then combating climate change will be a big problem for us as a country and as a continent and Africa. So we need to start fighting climate change. And for us to do that, we know that climate change also, it poses a fundamental threat to everywhere we find ourselves, even to animals, even to people, livelihood. And we need to start working together to protect nature. And for us to actually address this deadly crisis, we must urgently reduce our carbon pollution and prepare for the consequences of what the global warming is coming to us, which we are already experiencing as a people, as an individual. Even collectively, the private sector is seeing the effects and the impact of climate change. So because nobody is left behind in this problem. So what is the pledge you and I is going to be taking in making sure that our environment is sustainable for everybody? How do we start to, can we help to reduce our carbon footprint? We don't need grammar. We need real action to combat climate change. And for us to reduce our emission and prepare for a better climate future, we need to pledge as an individual to say, yes, this is the time we need to tackle climate action. Let's start taking action by writing to our representative, write to your local government chairman, your councillor, make them to see the need. You also need to take an action for them to see the importance of them taking action. You need to also start learning, read about what is this problem, what is it causing to us as a people. Because climate change is a conversation that is comprises of a lot of components. That's where people talk about agriculture, energy, transportation, let me see again, transportation, industry, infrastructure. A lot of conversation goes on. Every family is using cars now. Everybody wants to use a car. And fine, let us say we have one car. Why must we have 3 or 4 cars? How many of us have taken a little action to plant a tree? Just one little action. How many of us are making sure that we drive our car? We make sure that we reduce numbers of cars each family is putting on the road. How many of us, for those that are not in the house today, that have left the house for 1 or 2 things, how many of you have made sure that you off your lights, you switch off your lights, so that the energy you are wasting, you reserve the energy? It's time for green power. So, my fellow brothers and sisters, these issues, flooding, sea level rise, desertification and desert encroachment, oil spillage and oil and gas, this issue need to be solved like now, so that all of us, we understand the much impact of what climate change is causing on us. Let me give you a little bit of promises, commitments, all those things are sweet on paper. But how do we make sure that all these commitments is not just story that we are saying, in our environment. Because if we continue like this, oh my God, guys, we will end up crying. We will end up losing lives. We will end up, having issues with our people. Because as long as I'm concerned, the solution to climate action is an individual action. We need to take responsibility. We need to seek for justice. We need to see that what our role as young people or as individuals need to take in combating climate change or in achieving the prospect we want to see in future happens. Then it's high time for us to start speaking to what we want to see as adaptation and as mitigation. So, fellow brothers, like I said, climate change is a tender. And I was trying to share with you. We go to conferences every year. We attend meetings. Paris Agreement, UNFCCC meeting, SB, now Stockholm has gone and come and gone. Everybody, we keep having different events, different activities, different opportunities, but how are we reflecting those actions on ground? It's very, very important to understand that, like many other countries, parties to the Paris Agreement on mitigation of climate change, I'm talking about our Paris Agreement. It is very, very important to know that we need to take action. So, if many of you have been to different conferences before, you see that we have different promises. So I will just, let me quickly end my conversation in this way. By saying this, you see, our national strategy, our plans, our actions as a country need to be revisited. We need to revisit all these plans so that climate solution will be everybody's solution. We need to enhance meaningful youth involvement in climate change related issues. We need to develop and explore synergy among all stakeholders so that the issue of the global development network or development action will come to a place whereby everybody knows his own role. We need to have a youth-specific strategy. We need to have a stakeholder policy strategy. We need to continue to see how we can build programs and measure our impacts when it comes to climate change issues. These are things that is possible, but it's only possible if we, as young people, or if we, as civil society, if we are ready to take action. And for us to take action, we have a lot of work to do. So, young people, combating climate change is not just a mere mouth. And that is why I mentioned in the area of agriculture, in the area of energy, in the area of oil and gas, in the area of industry, in the area of transportation, in the area of water, in the area of waste management, and even cross-cutting issues like finance, investment, gender, youth. These are the key areas that our climate conversation should challenge so that the issue of combating climate change will see the day of light if everybody is ready to take action. So let's spread the word. Let's keep pressure on our political leaders. Let them understand that it is high time. How do we transform our transportation sector to make sure that the issue of net zero is just not by mouth, but by action? Because I don't see the net zero we are talking about. Is it the real net zero, or we are just shouting net zero, net zero? How do we make sure that we save energy. So it's high time. Even the food system conversation is a part of climate change conversation. So the climate emergency demand action from us all that we need to get to net zero, the real net zero that we're talking about, specifically for Nigeria by 2060. And everyone has a role to play. So let's look at the future. Let's look at now. Let's look at the local actions we are taking. And don't let us start speaking those words that is not relevant to building the future we want to see in our environment. Every industry have a role to play in combating climate change. How many trees have we planted for the past 5 months? How are you focusing on making sure that the environment space is an investment opportunity for people? Are we talking about the green jobs? Are we creating green spaces for young people? Are we creating a conducive environment for our elderly women? Are we making livelihood so easy and clean and clear for people that are suffering in the local community? There's an adage that says that everybody know, I'm sure that you know it. When 2 elephants are fighting, is the grass that suffers it. So you and I, we are the grass here. How do we start taking action, individual action, to make sure that we combat the issue of climate change? Because climate change is a proven fact that global warming is happening. That global warming is a serious issue to the planet. Deforestation, disappearance of our species. That is, as an individual, we can slow down the global warming by implementing small, sustainable action within our local community. And this can change the narrative. We've been talking about it day in, day out, every year. So how do we relate this to a proper, sustainable way of action? You know, we want to reduce emission. We want to implement the 3 R's. You know, we want to make sure that we have a low carbon diet. We want to make sure that we demand for sustainable measures. All these things lies within us, lie within individual action, but in actions that we can do in preventing climate change. So I don't want to talk too much again, because these are the things that we need to be looking at. These are the issues that is affecting and that is against our forest loss. These are the issues that is affecting our marine issue. So I will end by saying it is high time for us. We want to combat climate change. We take individual action, make demand from the government, so that the issue of renewable energy, the issue of net zero, will be a reality conversation. We want to actually promote the renewable energy issue. So thank you very much. And I'm sure I've been able to provoke some conversation, push some, geopolitical narrative, and also put some actions that we can take as an individual and how we can combat climate change. Thank you so much. And I'm sure I've been able to, do justice to this conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very great one, Mr. Olumide, and it's been an engaging one indeed. And just like you mentioned earlier, it's high time we have to implement transformative actions towards achieving the net future. And currently we have a series of questions coming from our participants on YouTube. I've dropped some on the chat box. Yes, I would love to check them and respond to them briefly. So, like, we have a question from Guide.
Is it possible for you to just read?
Is there any political or policy solution to the menace of climate change or environmental degradation? And someone, Nurikala, also asked that, how do you think we can control oil spillage in the affected areas? And also from Sally, we have a question which he asked that, in the process where we are trying to protect the community from where the people dump refuse and burnt it, and the members of the community are not listening to your sacrifices, what will you do? I think I've seen a lot of people falling into this kind of situation. What is your advice to that, Mr. Olumide?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me just summarize by saying that, I've mentioned individual action is key. And please, let us put that at the back of our mind. We have policies. We have different paper write-up. By God's grace, I've been able to be part of some policy document as well. But the problem we have as a country, number one, let me link it to political economy or political climate politics, is continuity. When you're a minister for 4 years, maximum 8 years, your successor is supposed to be your own success story. So when you drive or when you constitute a policy advocacy or a policy committee on a particular issue, the next thing you need to do is to make sure that every stakeholder take place in the implementation of that policy. Nigeria is a very big community. It's a very big country. I'm sure all of us here have not even traveled around Nigeria before. For you to actually understand how Nigeria is so endowed with natural resources. So if we are not implementing these policies, we are just having good paper on the shelf, looking nice with good graphics. So to me, what we need to start looking at is how do we make the government implement some policies that is already available on ground. Implementation is a big problem. And before I mention continuity. How do you make sure that the person taking over from you take over and continue the legacy you've put on ground? And the issue of oil spillage in Niger Delta, I said it. If you are above 35, you will know the story more. But if you are below 35, the same story, the same thing we hear every time. The same ministers visit the place every year. They come as a minister. The same director, the same people. Why is Ogoni cleanup not happening? Did the Ogoni cleanup get justice? I think Nigeria have gotten justice, on all ramifications. So it's a big issue that who is responsible for all the so-called figure that we see in the news. Oh, Niger Delta received so $1 billion to do this, to do that. Who is sitting down on that money? We need transparency and accountability to make sure that we follow the money. As one of my brothers said, we need to follow that money to the end to understand why Ogoni cleanup is still there. Is it the people that in the Ogoni that is causing the problem, or is it the people that are supposed to solve this or bring resources down? And let me say this, we as citizens, we need to give room for change. Because I also noticed when I was doing a research in the Gokana and in Niger Delta, I was opportunity to see that even the community people don't need, they are not clamoring for solution. Why? Because most of them, there's what we call kilobadi. Everything is money, money, money. They just give us money and go. Election is coming. We need to demand for their environmental position. How do you want to solve the Niger Delta problem? How do you want to solve the Great Green Wall, the project of desertification, desert encroachment problem? How do you want to solve flooding every time? How do you want to solve sea level rise? These are the things we need to ask these leaders so that they can be accountable for their statement and be transparent in their spending. So I think I've been able to answer some of the key questions. Thank you.
Yes, very well, Mr. Olumide. Thank you for those responses. And we also have another question from Basi, commenting that you mentioned we taking action in combating climate change. His question is, what is the best action that we need to take as individual member of our community? And another related question, question that looks similar to that is a question from Hassan Abubakar, which he asks that, can we, as part of the Climate Actors Accelerator program, design necessary policy regarding green economy and submit our drafts to politicians? I think this has to come from the aspect of policy making and policy recommendation. What's your view to that, sir?
Sorry, can you repeat the first question, please? Hello? Can you repeat the first question, please? I can't hear you.
Okay, the first question was, what is the best action that we need to take as individual member in our community? What is trying to say is, based on your discussion, based on the engagement you've given this morning, that it's high time we take action. We need to act now. But as young Nigerians, what are those individual and what are the best actions that we need to take now in order to achieve the. And the second question also relates that can we, as part of the Climate Accelerator program, meaning the participants, design necessary policy regarding green economy and submit our draft to the politicians? What's your view to that?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think I've mentioned some key actions that we can take as an individual, because that is only little action that contributes to our immediate environment. Number one, how often do you actually tell somebody about the impact of climate change? Staying around your neighbor, your dad, your mom. How often do you make sure that things that you use that is contributing to the environment, if you reduce them? The 3 hours, how are we making use of the 3 hours? Reduce the use and recycle. How are we making sure that we demand for justice from our leaders, not the president now, but from your local community leaders? How are we speaking to them? How are you trying to make sure that you plant a tree? Let me tell you, I to have this idea of planting a tree. How does it change my life? How does it change the environment? See it as that is my contribution to the environment. Then when you now come to the policy, like somebody said, how do you don't need to come up with any policy. Again, there are a lot of policy out there. How do you take this policy and turn it to a project for your organization or for an individual action and start doing something in your local environment? And please, it's high time we tell our story as well. When you are doing something that is impactful in your community, tell the story. How are you driving a sustainable solution in making sure that you carry out advocacy program in your community? Because in your level as a young person, you can only work more on advocacy and tell people about the problem and the solution. And the second way, I mentioned something about investment opportunity. How do you see climate space, environment space, and create an investment opportunity for yourself? We have people going to upcycling. How can you start, getting to that space to make more money for yourself, and not only just speaking about the government is bad, the government. Let us see how we can create investment opportunity for ourselves as an individual, because it is the way forward. The circular economy is another space that we need to start looking at. How do we reduce the way we use things? It's very, very key and very, very important. I will just let you know that your community action speaks more for you than the what you are doing in the global stage, because your community action is where you go back to after you travel and come back home. So that your community action is an evidence of a solution you are providing in the local level. You can do a community engagement, you can do a focus group discussion. Let people even understand the impact of climate change in your community. It is very, very key and very important. Then start talking about attitudinal change. Let people start changing their way from the way we pollute our environment. So that is my key contribution. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Wow. Now, those are great points which you mentioned, sir. And really appreciate you so much. But just 2 more questions to go, sir. And the first question is from Queen. And she asks, that's regarding the real estate business management. She asks, how is real estate business managed in Nigeria? I believe that the sector is contributing hugely in land degradation and disappearance of our species. What's your advice? What's your advice to that, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that question is something that It's a very big question, but I would say that let me use Lagos as an example. We all know that Lagos is already jam-packed. Like every small land, I said it when I was talking about every small land is building. But let me tell you, we have governments that have policies for land use. We have government that have policies for waterways. We have government that has been putting a lot of, urban settlements, putting a lot of, implementation on real estate businesses. And how do we make sure that all these businesses, they were scrutinized in the way whereby they submit EIE, Environmental Impact Assessment? How many people are doing that now? Because what is going on in Lagos, houses are collapsing because there is no follow-up on how they say you collect CFO, you collect all this, but how is the government monitoring the quality of what you are doing? And that is why you see Urushoki, when they were dropping some houses down, they were looking for a way for water. Are they not cleaning the system? Now the water is finding a way to the community now. And everywhere is flooded, close to Bariga and everywhere. So it's happening. The only thing I can say is we need to demand justice from the government. We are dying. People are dying because of this issue. I also mentioned it's causing mental problem. Because when your property is being taken away, and you just developer just build houses everywhere, every small land is one bedroom service apartment. Why? We need to understand the impact and the problem is causing. Do everybody want to make money? But why can't we make money in a sustainable manner? We've traveled around the world, we've seen how things are going on in developed countries. Why can't we implement that and use that one to solve our problem gradually? And that's why I said local action is the way forward. Local action is the way forward. Without local action, then we can't get anything done as a country. Thank you.
Those are great points. And coming from the angle of that local action, I feel it's very more important we start from even within our houses, not just the community now. You start from your own household, and how do you reduce waste? And this is a call to action to each and every Nigerians, because it's very important we see to add to the aspect of because we are all contributing to these climate issues in one way or the other. Just like you mentioned, the aspect of sustainable transportation. Even now, there are ways in which we also need to implement when it comes to having buildings, having constructing our buildings. And the truth is, individual differences too is very key, because we need to change. It's important we change our mindset, because many Nigerians still believe that it's when I own like 3 cars, it's when I own like 5 cars, that is when I've achieved. And the truth is, many Nigerians won't even take the idea of, okay, let me leave my car at home and maybe go through the public transit, or maybe let me use another alternative means of transportation to work. So there is a need for us to really orientate people in this regards. And before we go, sir, we have like 3 questions which I would just want you to answer once and for all. And the first question is from Fatima. Fatima said, my question one is, how are we going to stop massive cutting down and burning of trees for charcoals, especially in the north? Because there is massive number of poor that cannot afford gas, except that of firewood. Another question from someone made Balami said, what are the best practices?
That first question is what?
What did you say, sir?
Yeah, the first question talk about is it firewood or charcoal or something?
Yes, charcoal. She asked that, how are we going to stop the massive cutting down and burning of trees for charcoal, especially in the northern parts, because there are massive number of poor that cannot afford gas, except that of firewood. And another question is from Samuel. he asked that what are the best practices to stop deforestation in our environment, seeing the fact that people in the rural area are not having access to electricity, cooking gas, and kerosene. And the last question, which I'm going to ask, is from Okeshiku. Do you think handing over project implementations to solving environmental issues is private sectors would be more sustainable to government base?
Thank you very much. See, the issue of charcoal has been a long conversation, most especially in the northern part of the country. And this still boils down to how is the local government, what is their communication channel, and how are they carrying along the local actors that don't have access to use our so-called LPG. So it's something that government and the civil society, the gap between the government and the local actors is very, very huge. And that's why you see that people don't understand the impact of what they are doing. And when you see that people are dying, they say the person died of cancer, that most of all these issues contribute to the conversation that we're talking about now. So the issue of charcoal for me is something that our government need to see how they can start looking at alternative solution that is local. Because if I cannot afford something that you are bringing to me, then you are contributing to my problem by taking away the ones that I'm using before. So it's high time for us to look at alternative that is not going to cause a lot of problem for our community, alternative that is simple and cheap. So it's the area with ban on charcoal is because there was no massive afforestation to sustain the businesses, but we are going into serious afforestation. If we go into serious afforestation, where we are not just going into where people are not just going to plant the trees and leave them to die, then we will see that when we nurture and follow up all these stuffs, then we'll be able to get what is really causing it. Why are people cutting trees? And how are we creating more empowerment and employment without forest cover, without cutting trees? Because we cannot sustain our businesses if we don't empower people, if we don't employ more people to the green businesses that we are looking at. Because when you are taking something, we need to provide alternative. So that is that. Then if I remember, I think the last one you asked was about the questions. What was the last one? Sorry.
So the last one is actually on, do you think handing over project implementation to solving environmental issues to private sector will be more sustainable to government base?
Sorry, maybe it's my network. Say that again.
Do you think handing over project implementation, project implementations to solving environmental issues to private sectors will be more sustainable to government base? Like, do you think that project implementation being handed over to private industries, private organizations will be more sustainable to government-based organizations?
I'm not a big expert on that, but I will say from experience, private sectors have huge role to play in implementation because they have the capacity, they have the technical know-how, and they have the experts. So the only thing government needs to do is to carry along the private sector in implementing some strategic actions that need finance mechanism, because assessing finance also needs experts and needs some key actions. So private sector have a huge role to play. And remember, local actions are driven by civil society. So it's not only private sector, but private sector have a role to play in their experts, in their the way of approaching businesses. So all these things, I think I would say yes, but not leaving anyone behind, most especially the society, civil society and the young people. You have the women network as well that is doing strategically well in making sure that implementation is being done in the local level. Thank you. Hello?
Yes, sir, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm John.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Olumide. It's been an insightful session having you on board, and I know that this is what you do every day. There is no day Mr. Olumide doesn't speak about climate action, either even within, not just in Nigeria alone, a lot of conferences in which you've been advocating on climate action, combating climate issues, both in Nigeria and other countries. Really want to appreciate your time, sir, facilitating today's event. And thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think your network, your network is a little bit bad. Thank you for having me, for speaking to your team. And I'm sure I'm going to learn from you guys as well. And let us look forward to how we collectively, individually, we continue to shaping the narrative of how our environment will be in the nearest future. Thank you very much and have a great weekend ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate you once again. We know that definitely we always call back on you, and you're always here for us to be of support. We really appreciate your contribution today, sir. Have a wonderful day. So, dear participants, we would like to go on one or two aspects to address some of our questions. I know that we have questions as regards the Accelerator program, and I definitely know that we have things which you want us to clear on. And regarding the Accelerator program, it's going to be in 4 phases, and currently we are running the second phase of the Accelerator program. And sorry, I'm unable to use my video now. The network is quite bad. The network is quite bad now. I just have to consult it. Yeah. So, just like I mentioned earlier, the accelerator is going to be in 4 phases. The first phase was the conference which we had last week, and the second phase is the advanced training, and which we had the master class, which is going to hold for 5 weeks concurrently, starting from today, 10th of June to 8th of July. And for each section, we are going to be having various speakers. Part of the modules which we are working on is not just, we are still working on like 8 to 10 different modules which centers around forest conservation, and also not just forest conservation. We are still going to discuss on environmental and ecosystem restoration, pollution and waste management, green economy, artificial intelligence and digital energy, blue economy, circular economy, renewable energy, and sustainable construction. And also the other part which has to do with the innovation process is the grant and teaching master class. And also we are going to be having the business model and design thinking process. So, which is going to lead us to the 3rd phase of the project, which we start the innovation process and community projects. Definitely before the week runs out, a document will be shared with each and everyone by email that shows and details the timeline, the dates of each and every of these events. And I quickly need to mention this. It's very compulsory. Each and everyone participates in all the sessions, because for you to be certified at the end of this program, it's compulsory. You have 80% attendance, and the attendance and evaluation form will be sent across. The admin have they've sent a link to the YouTube platform. Please kindly ensure you fill it and submit before you end, because you won't be able to do that after this session. And the third aspect which I want to mention is there's going to be an online assessment on 8th of July, and because by 8th of July we are going to end the phase 2, and after the phase 2 is the phase 3. Definitely, it's not everybody that participated in the phase 2 that are going to proceed to the phase 3, but I wish each and everyone success. And the other part which I also want to mention is the assessment and attendance is going to sum up for qualification to the next phase. Then regarding the benefits to this program, it goes beyond certificates, it goes beyond certification. Definitely there are access to fundings from this program, and we're also creating more international collaboration, and definitely we are still going to have some facilitators outside our space here. And also is the one-on-one mentorship which we are going to have with experts across various areas of climate change. And at the end of this program, like I mentioned, successful participants will be certified and also join the community of climate actors, not just in Nigeria, now in Africa and globally. Currently, we also have the United Nations Environmental Program, and definitely successful participants are going to belong to these bodies. And also, at the end of this program, we are expecting each and everyone to have a transformative solution in which we are pioneering, because the most important thing is we might keep talking, because we might keep talking each and every day, keep having conferences around climate action, protecting the nature, protecting Mother Earth. But it's important to take action, and even no matter how little it is, we need to take that action. So at the end of this program, each participant are expected to have a transformative solution in which we are pioneering to solve global climate crisis. I know currently some of us have projects which we are working on. We also have ideas and some of us have ideas which we really want to establish. And I'm confident to tell you that through this Accelerator program, we are going to achieve that. And also, we are going to, at the end of the Pro Accelerator program, we are going to have the information and solution published on the Global Climate Report, which will be released later in September. So I really look, I wish each and every participant a successful journey through the Accelerator program. I wouldn't know if you have one or two questions which you want to ask me. I will quickly respond to it before we end today's session. And please, like I mentioned, can we ensure you fill the it was posted? Please just copy the link to your browser, and from there you can fill that link. We still have like 10 minutes to fill that link. The link will be reshared shortly before we end today's session. So I saw someone ask questions as regards slides. Definitely, we are going to be sharing the slides from each facilitator, and we ensure we send it across to everybody to have access to it. So you can disconnect once you've been able to fill in the link, and the link will be open till 10:30 today for each and everyone to fill in. I wish you a wonderful weekend. Next week, same platform, and if possible, we might migrate to Zoom platform next week. Thank you and have a wonderful weekend.